What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadian things that no one understands. Canada, the rest of us just have no idea what's going on up there. So today, I thought it would be fun to take a look at some of the most asked questions about Canadian culture and the answers, which have been provided by Canadians, which is great. So I want to take a look at this Reddit discussion where somebody asked non Canadians, what do you not understand about Canada? So let's take a look at some of the most common questions and the answers so that we can finally figure out the mystery that is Canada and Canadian culture. So, starting with, do you learn French and English in school all across the country? Oh, that's a good question. I don't I don't know the answer to that either. Wow. Yeah, cuz like officially in Canada, the languages are French and English. Like French is on all the stuff and English. But that's one of the major differences between America and Canada. Canada has French. Do all Canadians have to learn French? I don't think all Canadians are bilingual. Maybe Canadians have to learn about French, or like here in America, we can choose to learn about French or German or some language of your choice for like a year or two in high school or something. Maybe it's kind of like that in Canada. Maybe a bit more than that, honestly. So I can stop speculating about this. Let's actually read the answer. Yes. Oh, yes, but you forget about the other language once you leave school. Now, I believe French Canadians in like Quebec and places like that, like actually are bilingual, like pretty commonly speaking French and English. But sounds like, according to this comment at least, all Canadians have to learn about French and learn some French in school, but then you forget it for the most part, which is exactly what happens to us Americans when we learn a language for like a year or something in school. That's totally true. What else do we have here? That's a good question. That's actually something I am curious about. Like, how much French is actually taught in Canada, but I've never gotten the answer to that. So that's actually very interesting. All right, moving along. What's up with all the islands? Do people actually live on them? What's up with all the islands? Oh, you know what? If I were interpreting this question, I think this person is asking about the Canadian islands to the north. Because I know there's like Prince Edward Island and islands like on the eastern side of Canada. There's like Vancouver Island, islands on the west coast of Canada. But I think they're talking about what I would be thinking of if I asked this question. What about the islands that are northern Canada? Like there's a million of them, and they're probably freezing cold. Do people actually live on them? The ones up north? Barely. A couple of towns, some villages, a scientist base or two, no more. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the northern ones. There are some towns and villages. Holy cow. I know I learned once about like the most northern town in Canada, which is just crazy living conditions. But there's actually a couple of towns and villages and science bases. That makes sense. Okay. The people who traditionally live there are Inuit. To add to this, they have lived there for centuries and still hunt for a lot of their food. Okay. Okay, it's part of their like culture, part of their tradition, being there a long time, and they know how to survive there. So that's incredible. Though their way of life involves more snowmobiles than dog sleds nowadays. Okay, so there's been a little bit of modernization there. Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of Americans would have because when we look at Canada on a map, like a lot of it is on the top, to the north. Like a ton of Canada is the northern part of Canada. And I definitely have thought that. This is funny. This is like things people think about Canada but don't want to admit. But here we are. Well, these are good. Canadian things no one understands. I'm learning something. What else do we have? Do people really do the maple syrup on a stick out in the snow? They do, right? I've heard about this. I know a little about this. The maple syrup on the snow, and then you like put it on a stick. That I think Canadians do that for real. that's very that's like that's not helping the stereotype. That's like that's not doing Canada any favors. That's exactly what most Americans would imagine Canadians are doing all year round, just surviving on a diet of maple syrup snow sticks. I know there's a name for it, but I can't seem to find it. What is that called? F yeah, we do. Okay. Um, right, but this is really only when it's winter in Canada. And do all Canadians do this though, or is this like a cute little thing you do in your childhood, maybe? Since there's interest, it's predominantly an Eastern Atlantic thing. Oh, in Canada and the U.S. I've never heard of this before. It's possible. Where all the syrup is made. Okay, works better with raw maple syrup. You don't mess with Aunt Jemima out here, or you could get your ass beat. Okay. Okay, you need the real stuff, the real syrup, no fake syrup. Boil the syrup, pour it on the snow, jam a stick in there, let it solidify. You've got yourself an instant maple syrup lollipop. Okay, cool. I love that. That's actually really cool. Like, sounds like a Canadian tradition or something. Something you could do with your kids, even. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. Is the money really waterproof? This is what we are thinking about down here. Trust me. These are the questions. Really. Is the money really waterproof? Right, because it's plastic, right? It's like very high tech looking. It's got even like a clear like film on it. I don't even know what to call it. The Canadian money, the actual physical bills, are so much cooler than the American money. That's for sure. And I've heard they smell like maple syrup. I still don't know if that is a troll or something, if that's a lie. That they smell like maple syrup. Are they waterproof? I think that's true. Yep, 100%. Wow. I guess American money is sort of waterproof. If you put it in the washing machine too many times, it would start to fall apart, though. It is like very papery. That's cool. Canadian money is very durable. If you have a Canadian dollar bill, you have it for life. There's only so many things that you can say or you can depend on your entire life. And Canadian dollar bills are right up there, right? Honey, you say it to your wife or husband, like, I can depend on you and Canadian bills. And they're just like, okay, get out of here. All right, what else do we have here? What's up with the craft dinner thing? You guys talk about it like it's the food of the gods. The craft dinner thing? Craft dinner is mac and cheese. It's what we call Kraft mac and cheese, or just mac and cheese. Kraft is just a brand, you know. We usually call it mac and cheese here in America. Kraft dinner is not a term that exists here in America. I had to learn about this Kraft dinner. I had to translate this into American English. But do Canadians hype this stuff up? Is it different to like the macaroni and cheese we buy here? It's good, but is it the food of the gods? So this person says, I read this question to my Canadian girlfriend. Her response, it is. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I didn't know. FYI, Kraft dinner is just Kraft mac and cheese with a different name. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's just Kraft mac and cheese, and it is very good. Haven't had that in a while, come to think of it. You boil the noodles and put that artificial cheese powder, and it's great. Anyway, before I get too hungry over here, let's take a look at some more the Canadian things no one understands, which includes bags of milk. True. Very true. Yeah, I don't really get it. I know it's a thing in Canada. The milk is in bags. It's very strange, very jiggly sounding. I finally learned how you like use it. You cut a hole in the bag and you put it in a container, like to pour, cause so you can pour it. I used to think you just take the bag and it's like jiggling in your hands and you kind of like pour it all over the counter, but apparently that's not the case. Is there any more clarification on the bags of milk we can have here? Oh, here we go. So the bagged milk in Canada, less waste. The plastic in a milk bag is far, far less than the material in a milk carton. Oh, like a gallon container, which is like hard plastic. But what about like paper milk containers, you know? Is that a good way to go as well? So the plastic in a bag is less than like a plastic gallon container we use. Okay, fair. That's good. Fair enough. Recycling. Good, good. It separates the milk into 1 liter bags, which keeps the other 3 unopened bags fresher. They aren't opened until you need them. Do you buy bagged milk in fours? Like groups of 4? And you open 1 liter at a time? Or um, I think I've heard this where the bagged milk was to put it into 1 liter bags. I'm not sure why that's so important. Is it to keep it fresher, I guess? It's easier to get the last drop of milk out of a bag than it is to get out of a carton. Really? Canadians getting every last drop of milk out of the bag. You got the bag upside down, you're just squeezing, milking the milk out of the bag like you're squeezing a toothpaste or something. Squeezing out the last bit of toothpaste from the bottle is how you get that last drop of milk. Very good. You know, more power to you. Get all the milk out. Good. Milk bags are easier to pour once you know how to do it. There's nothing as satisfying as a perfect stream of milk coming out of the perfectly cut milk bag. What? I had no idea it went this deep. Wow, is this just some sort of euphoria only Canadians get to experience? I'm really loving these explanations given by the Canadians here today. This is making everything make so much more sense. The bagged milk in Canada is euphoric at times. If you get the perfect cut, the perfect pour. Okay. Let's keep going. I didn't know any of this stuff. All right. How Canadians are born. Oh my god. Okay, things no one understands. How Canadians are born. I mean, I've seen the gif of a fully grown man coming out of a frozen lake with a hockey stick and skating away. I just don't understand how it all works. So it's just simple biology. I don't know. If your parents didn't explain it to you when you were a teenager, then they did a disservice to you. That's how Canadians are born. Um, some more alchemy. Cut a hole in the ice. Dump in coffee. Moose blood. The head of a Canada goose. Hockey gear. Stir it up and leave for 1 to 2 months, and your Canuck will pop out fully formed. Right. We've all. I mean, this is just common knowledge. We don't even need to go into this any further. Common sense. How how Canadians are born again. No, I think I accidentally read it again. What else do we have? I've always wondered what Canadian stereotypes are. Like in the US, we have places where we say, oh, that's where the country people live. Or these people are crazy, like in Florida, stuff like that. Okay, they're not talking about stereotypes that Americans have of Canadians. They're talking about within Canada, what stereotypes do Canadians have about each other and the different regions of Canada, I guess. Stereotypes within Canada. Here are some, obviously not all are true. Right, these are stereotypes after all, but this sounds really interesting. I've never heard this before either. Saskatchewan are filled with farmers, wheat fields, cold winters. Territories, snow, igloos, polar bears. I mean, it is very, very cold up there. But in this day and age, I doubt everyone actually lives in an igloo. So Toronto stereotype. People that think they're the center of the universe. Oh god. Like, I don't know, kind of like New York City or something here in America. Quebec. French people that hate the rest of the country. Oh man, I know there's a big cultural difference between French Canada and the rest of Canada and stuff. And hasn't Quebec even like in history talked about like separating and becoming their own entity? Or I don't know. Maybe that's where this stereotype comes from. Alberta, oil. Oh really? Newfoundland, weird accents. And moose. Really? Prince Edward Island, potatoes. That's some of the stereotypes. All right, that's funny. It's funny to hear that from like Canadians' points of view. Stereotypes in Canada. Okay. What is the deal with Quebec? Do they even consider themselves Canadians? Ooh. Okay. This is interesting. I'm sure they do consider themselves Canadians because they are. But they also, I think, consider themselves French Canadians. Like they have their own culture and history. So that's important to acknowledge. What's the deal with Quebec? Okay, can anyone explain this? It's honestly pretty split. Like there's so many categories of people who want different things. Some people refuse anything English, like in French-speaking parts of Canada, okay, and want to separate, right? But lots of places are very angelicized. Like on a Montreal island, some people don't speak any French. Really? Little pockets in French Canada that don't speak French? Plus, there's a lot of other cultures within Quebec. Montreal has a large Jewish, Greek communities, and lots of people that don't consider themselves French. Wow! This gets very deep, very specific. Stems a lot from how Canada was formed. When the French founded a lot of the area and Britain came in and messed up stuff, they repressed a lot of French people, forced them to speak English, tried to control them. Which is why Quebec was like, screw you guys, if you're going to treat us like this, we want to separate. Wow. That's fascinating. Huh. This person is married into a Quebec family, so they would have this sort of insider information. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. Why is it that half the comedians in Hollywood are from Canada? I just did a video about Canadian comedians. And I learned there's a ton of comedians that I love and loved watching growing up, that I didn't know were Canadian. So this question is so relevant to me right now. Why is half of comedians in Hollywood are from Canada? Is there something in your diet that makes you funny? Right, seriously. Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, to name a few. Are Canadians just funny? Being freezing cold 8 months out of the year builds a lot of character. Lots of time to sit around making jokes. Montreal has a large comedy scene and has the biggest international comedy festival. Just for laughs. I didn't know that. Amazing. Oh, these are good. Okay. Question, things no one understands about Canada. These are fantastic. I'm really enjoying this. Is Tim Hortons and poutine really that good? Right. Like Tim Hortons is apparently huge in Canada, like everywhere. Why? What's the hype? Is it just the only thing available, or is it just that darn good? And poutine, is poutine really that good? I expect it is, because it sounds very good. So they found out Timbits are good. Poutine, better than sex. Wow. Timmy's donuts are okay. Timmy's all over is bad. Oh, because I've heard that some people don't even love the Tim's coffee that much. Poutine is apparently very good. Okay. That's funny. Tim Hortons has gone downhill. They changed the coffee so it's worse. I know that Tim Hortons got like bought out or something and changed recipes, and but they're still very popular in Canada, though. Still very, very popular, I'm pretty sure. Poutine lives up to the reputation. The ultimate comfort food, right? Cheese curds, fries, and gravy. That sounds very good. I don't know why that's not a thing in America. But anyway, there you have it. There's a couple of things that no one understands about Canada, but now we do, finally! The veil has been lifted. This was actually very, very enjoyable. I thought all these questions were really, really good. A lot of things I didn't really understand about Canada and Canadian culture that I finally have answers to. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these questions no one understands about Canada. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.